Big changes are ahead for Medicare Part D, so today I'm breaking down exactly what these changes are and how they will affect you, so stay tuned. Part D is the part of Medicare that I think is the most confusing, and whether you take no medications or dozens of medications, most people on Medicare will end up having some type of Part D prescription drug coverage. So you receive it either through a standalone Part D drug plan with traditional Medicare or through a Medicare Advantage plan that includes prescription drug coverage. Now, no matter what type of Part D coverage you have, there are some important changes coming to your coverage starting next year in 2025. So let's review exactly what these changes are and how they will impact you. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 was a federal law put into place with the aim of reducing the federal budget deficit, promoting clean energy among other things, and lowering prescription drug prices. So as far as prescription drug costs go, some of the big aims of this law are to reduce drug costs by Medicare negotiation of drug prices for certain prescriptions, and also enforcing rebates from drug makers who price gouge. Now, in today's video, I'm not going to dive into every implication of the Inflation Reduction Act on Medicare Part D, but if you want to dive into all the nooks and crannies, I have included some information in the show notes below that goes into more depth. Today, I want to talk about what this means for you and how your drug plan will work in the coming year. So in the past, including this year, Medicare Part D basically worked like this. You have a deductible phase of coverage first. That is the phase of coverage in which you are paying generally the full negotiated price of your prescriptions until you've met that deductible amount. Now in 2024, that deductible amount is $545. And then once you've met it, you reach initial level coverage. Now in this phase, you're paying a smaller co-payment or co-insurance amount for your covered drugs. Then if your total drug costs for the year, including the amount that you've spent in co-pays and the amount that the drug company has spent to cover your drugs, equals a certain spending threshold. In 2024, the limit was $5,030. Then at that point, you would fall into the dreaded donut hole. This is also known as the coverage gap. People with expensive medications know about this donut hole or coverage gap because once you've reached it, now you are responsible for a larger portion of most of your medications, typically 25% of the cost of brand name and generic medications. So for example, someone who has a medication that say retails for $500 a month, maybe in the initial level coverage phase of their drug plan, they were paying about a $40 copay. Now, once they reach the coverage gap or the donut hole, they are now responsible for 25% of the cost of that medication, or $125 a month. So seniors would see their copay or their coinsurance, the amount that they're responsible for at the pharmacy for their medication, jump quite a bit once they reached that coverage gap, that donut hole. So you pay this higher coinsurance for your drugs while you're in the donut hole. And then once you've reached a total spending of $8,000 a year, this includes your out-of-pocket spending as well as certain payments made on your behalf, then you would get into catastrophic coverage. That's the final phase of your Part D coverage. Now, in the past, Medicare beneficiaries still had to pay a coinsurance amount even when they reached catastrophic coverage. Last year it was 5% of the cost of their medication, and there was no cap, no limit on that. Starting this year, finally, in 2024, there is a 0% coinsurance once you've reached that catastrophic limit. So you do kind of have a cap put into place, and that's how your drug plan is working as of this year, 2024. But in 2025, there are even bigger changes. The first change is that the donut hole is going away, finally. So you'll still have a deductible phase of coverage, and in 2025, the standard Part D deductible will be $590 a year. Now keep in mind, many people gasp when they see this high deductible, but many Part D plans actually have a $0 deductible on Tier 1, sometimes Tier 2 low-level generic medication. So if you are taking mainly low-level generics, you may not need to satisfy that deductible. And then again, after the deductible, you are in your initial level coverage phase where you're paying that smaller copayment or coinsurance amount for your medication. Now in 2025, once you have reached an out-of-pocket spending limit of $2,000 per year, then your medications are covered at 100% between Medicare Medicare and your drug plan. So you pay nothing for prescription drug costs for the remainder of the year. Now, this excellent, if just slightly confusing chart from the Kaiser Family Foundation shows how these changes look from 2024 to 2025. But what's also highlighted here is how much more Part D drug plans will be responsible for once you meet that out-of-pocket spending limit in 2025. So the drug plans are going to be paying more this coming year, that's for sure. And many people are speculating what that means for them. Is my premium going to jump? Is my plan going to get discontinued? Are certain medications no longer going to be covered on my plan? Those are some of the questions that we've been receiving, and the best answer I can give you is to thoroughly review your annual notice of change document. If you haven't already received it, you should be receiving it very soon. Be sure to not throw it away. It's going to be a document sent to you from your drug plan outlining any and all changes to your coverage starting in 2025. Remember that if you want to make changes to your Medicare Advantage plan, your Part C plan, or your Part D prescription drug plan, then you generally have to do this between October 15th and December 7th for a January 1st effective date. Now, another big change for 2025 is the Medicare Prescription Payment Program. Now, starting next year, the Medicare Prescription Payment Program offers Medicare beneficiaries with drug coverage the opportunity to spread the costs of their prescription drugs out over the calendar year rather than paying in full at the pharmacy counter when you go to fill a prescription. So let's say you have some expensive brand name medications, you go to the pharmacy in January to fill them and you have that big $590 deductible. That can really put a dent in your wallet. So this year, for the first time, there will be an option for seniors to spread out those costs over the course of the calendar year. So how will this work? Well, essentially, your prescription drug plan is going to pick up the cost of your prescription medications, and then they will bill you monthly so that you can spread out the costs evenly throughout the calendar year. If you are interested in setting up your Medicare prescription payment program, you must do this directly through your Part D plan insurance company. And when you receive your annual notice of change document, like I talked about earlier, you will have information about how to set that up with your prescription drug plan. So these changes, especially that $2,000 Part D prescription drug cap in 2025, is certainly going to help many people. The Kaiser Family Foundation reported that if this cap had been in place in 2021, then it would have saved 1.5 million seniors money on their prescription drug costs because they spent at least that much on their medications. So 1.5 million people is a lot of people. However, there are 66 million people currently on Medicare. So when you look at it like that, it's about 2% of Medicare beneficiaries that will really benefit from this. And the rest of the Medicare beneficiaries may be subject to potential plan changes or premium increases. So I can't stress enough for you to please review your annual notice of change document when you receive it in the mail, because this is the year to reassess your coverage and make sure that you're on the best plan to meet your needs. Now, whether you work with me and my team or you have another great independent broker that you're working with, keep an eye out for information that I will be sending you in regards to finding and keeping the best coverage for your needs into the coming calendar year. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you soon.